Okay, hi everyone. Welcome to another episode of Reptile Ventures. Um, so we're going to do a little video on how to breed your ball python. That is a question that I get asked all the time is how do I go about doing it? How big does my female need to be? How old does my male need to be? How much do I feed them? What temperature? All that stuff, blah, blah, blah. So, luckily, it's actually fairly easy. Ball pythons are one of the easier species of snakes to successfully reproduce, so that's one of the reasons they're so popular. Anyways, first is how big does the female need to be? Well, I'll show you. This particular female, Pastel Inchy, she is a couple years old. Right around 1,500 grams, which is kind of a universally accepted minimum weight for a female. 1,500 grams is a good starting point, and you can see, yeah, there, it's a good size at that. And the other thing to keep in mind, 1,500 grams, you don't want a big, long, skinny snake that weighs 1,500 grams. You want, relatively stocky. Something that looks like it has good body weight, and those are the ones that are going to possibly have follicles at this size. I'll show you another female. This is one that's just a little bit older, but she's also a much better feeder than that one. And this female is right around 2,000 grams, and that's really what I like to have my females at, like ideally between 1,800 2,000 for a new female that I'm raising up. You're going to get a bigger clutch. Small female, maybe 4 eggs. A bigger female, you're going to get 6, 7, maybe 8 eggs. And it doesn't take long. If she's feeding well, it's really just a matter of depending how big a meal you feed her, maybe 7 or 8 meals, and a few months, and you can get her right up to 2,000 grams. So how do you know when a female is actually ready? Well, if you just have a few snakes, just put your male in, and if they're interested, they're gonna do something. But there are signs that you can look for, and we'll go into that in a minute. Okay, so the other thing people ask me about all the time is temperature. What temperature you keep your females at or your males at? Do you cycle them? And what I do here is I really don't set out to cycle the ball pythons at all. My daytime temperatures are set at 90 degrees. The heat tape is all set to 90 degrees. They get a 2-degree drop at night down to 88, and that's 365 days a year. It never changes. Now this building there's no actual heating in this building other than the cages themselves, so the temperature will fluctuate in here, and it's going to be hotter obviously on a hot summer day where it could be 90 degrees in here compared to like winter at night. It could drop down into the mid-70s. So that's enough of a fluctuation to for them to realize there's a temperature drop going on. So other than the ambient change, I really don't do anything. So one of the things to look for is if a female is always kind of at the cool end of the cage, and when a female is trying to cool herself, they actually will feel cool to the touch. And this particular female, her follicles right now are about 12 to 13 millimeters, so she's ready to be bred, and she is trying to cool herself off. And the females that are always kind of on the warm end, if you check those, follicles will generally be pretty small. So it's really a good indicator is when they themselves are trying to cool themselves, and you'll notice they'll be wrapped around the bowl or always at the colder end of the cage. Okay, so right now this is a female that kind of has been cooling herself also, and I'm just going to check her for follicles right now. So I've got this, a few years ago we bought this ultrasound machine, and it's really, it's been a really good investment. I mean, you can certainly breed ball pythons without one, but it really does take all the guesswork out of it. So, we'll just have a look here. And as you can see, first thing to look for, that big black blob, that's the gallbladder, and right in behind the gallbladder will be all the follicles. And you can see this female has some really nice sized follicles. And I'm just going to freeze one here. And we'll have a look. Okay, so yeah, it looks like she's right in at about 14, 15 millimeters. So that's really a great size to start breeding at. So she's more than ready. And this female all along for like the last month or so has she's trying to cool herself off by sitting at the cold end of the cage all the time. So there you go. That's, you know, a great indicator. Now, obviously, you don't need to have an ultrasound to breed ball pythons. I mean, I've bred ball pythons for years without one, but it just makes life a little easier. So the other thing you can check if you don't have one, is you can actually palpate for follicles by letting the female just sort of glide through your fingers like this. And if you do it right, you can actually feel the follicles. You can feel them, although it doesn't really tell you how big they are, or you know at what stage she's at, but at least you know they're there. I mean, they'll feel like really just like little marbles, like a pop little marble thing you'll feel. But anyways, when you see that, just throw your male in. Okay, so once you're female, when you feel follicles, throw the male in there, and it really only takes one breeding to get a successful fertile clutch. But generally, you know, it's nice to get a backup breeding in there. So do the first breeding, you know, hopefully when you can feel some follicles, let's say they're between 10 and 15 millimeters. Within, you know, roughly a month's time or so, if everything's working the way it's supposed to, follicles should grow to about 20 millimeters. And then it's a good time to throw the male in for a second time. Now this female is, I know she's fairly far along, and she has been bred a couple of times already. And you'll be able to see the size difference. I think these are going to be pretty big. Oh yeah, I mean, oh my God, they're enormous. They're filling up the entire screen. So we'll just have a look here. They're going from there all the way to, yeah, these are at 40 millimeters now. So she's actually a little further along than I thought. In fact, she's probably only a week or two away from ovulating. She has a little bit of what's called a pre-ovulation swell happening. She's not cooperating really, but you can see a swelling right in this area where the follicles are just starting to, you know, get really large. And yeah, she's really close to ovulating. Okay, anyway, so next time we'll talk a little bit more about this. We'll cover a little bit about the males and how to set up an actual gravid female, and a little about how I incubate the eggs and all that stuff. So yeah, we'll do that next time. So now we got some questions to answer.
IMC Gran 5. Oh, sorry, not 5. 5 days ago. Oh my gosh, what a little gibble. Okay, you should do a video on food. Do you breed rats or buy frozen? How many snakes do you have?
Oh, okay. Well, maybe one day we'll do a rat video. I don't know. But I do breed my own rats and mice.
How many snakes?
Can't imagine trying to do all this with just frozen rats. It'd be a nightmare. How many snakes do I have? Well, if I count all the babies right now, probably I don't know, 800 or 900, I guess.
Okay, Thomas B writes, is your snake room a separate facility or back of your house?
It is a separate facility. It is on our property. It's kind of connected to the house with a walkway, but it's a standalone, separate facility. Has its own standby generator. So yeah, we built this specifically for the snakes.
Next question, I am gift bearer asks, I didn't catch the name of that boa you showed in the last video.
Oh yeah, the scoria boa. It's called the scoria boa. They're really, really rare. There's not more than a handful of them in the whole world. Yeah, and he's been breeding, so hopefully in the spring there'll be about 20 more of them. Okay, anyway, well, thanks for watching, and if you have any questions, again, just leave them in the comment area, and we'll answer them next time. And yeah, next week we'll talk a little more about breeding. So yeah, be sure to subscribe, and thanks a lot. We'll see you next time.